Hey, welcome back. This is Doug Field with Healthcare Consumerism Radio, along with Ron Bachman. Ron, just kind of follow up to our last segment, interactive health. What you and I were talking about is how, if I'm an employer implementing defined contribution and private exchange, how does that impact my ability to incentivize premium reduction?
If you're doing a defined contribution plan, you can't really change that based upon what you're talking about.
Right.
Now, you can discriminate in defined contribution using health reimbursement arrangements for the lower paid employees. So you can do some discrimination there, but normally they're all going to be the same defined contribution by definition. The defined contribution, I think, is going to be mainly used by the smaller employers who don't have to provide insurance at all. They'll put up some money and then people are going to a private exchange to buy insurance. So it would really be the insurance company, because at that point it's a fully insured product.
Right.
So you would have to be encouraging them to go to an insurance company or insurance companies that might change their premiums based upon the biometrics. So you'd have to have the right kind of partnership.
Right.
But you're right, it makes it very difficult in that circumstance to do the contribution change. But there are other ways that you could
you just have to work on other
could be cash incentives.
Right.
Could be cash incentives, for example, otherwise. So there's lots of different ways you can do it, and it's encouraged by the Obamacare laws, as was mentioned. It's going up to a 30% differential on premiums.
Now, how does it potentially get up to 50%? Because he was alluding to that.
The way it gets up to 50%, there's only one way right now, and that is if there is one of your biometrics, one of your outcomes is based upon smoking cessation or non-tobacco use, they call it. If you don't have anything in there for that, you can only go up to the 30%.
Okay.
But if you throw that in along with the others, you can actually build up 10% for the different biometrics. And then with the smoking, you can take it up to 50%. But at some point in the future, the HHS secretary can say, well, it's not just the smoking that you can add on everything to make it 50%. She can go to 50% or 40 or anything in between the 30 that's going to be in existence and the 50% for all the biometrics. And, it's really an amazing movement here that, again, the Institute for Healthcare Consumerism has been saying this is a mega trend. It's not going away, because 50% of the premium is not 50% of the employee's contribution.
Right.
The employee's contribution may be only half of the premium, so he'd be paying 50%, and the employer could have rewarded incentive up to 50%, which would mean the entire employee contribution might go away. So it could be
pretty instant.
Yeah. So there's enormous potential. Now, the reality is in the marketplace today, most people aren't even using the 20% that's allowed. But because the law goes up to 30%, I think we're going to see employers start to think about maybe I should be providing a larger reward and incentive. One of the great challenges that we see right now, though, is that each employer is going to be different. How do you motivate somebody? And is it the same kind of a motivation for somebody at a Microsoft versus a General Motors? And it's going to be different.
Yep.
And an employer doesn't want to waste their money by giving incentives that are too large and doesn't want to have the program fail because the incentives are too low. So we're actually, I think, going through a period of restructuring, of a lot of trial and error, and we're going to wind up each employer having to figure out on their own. There's no one answer. It's a great challenge, but the rewards and incentives are a very important part. As we move down the road even further, though, money only motivates us so much. So
That's right.
If it motivates this year, do I need more next year to motivate? It's the old Maslow's hierarchy of rewards. At some point, it has to go from being extrinsic, where somebody is paying you to do the right thing, to you understanding intrinsically it is the right thing to do. So we're going to have to change at some point.
Well, isn't that becoming, we talk about it a lot in the Institute, and many of our experts talk about it. It's about creating that culture of health, creating those consumers of health and healthcare, and education.
Absolutely. And at some point it kind of feeds into our lifestyle, and so it becomes automatic. So, wellness shouldn't be a difficult thing to do. It ought to be a natural thing to do. And as we start to understand these different approaches, and we got all these great entrepreneurs and companies that are trying to do different things and trying to approach it slightly differently with a different emphasis, we're going to see what works and what doesn't work. We're a little bit in the Wild West area of a lot of different companies, a lot of different wellness companies, a lot of disease management, a lot of population management. All these different companies out there are trying different things.
Yep.
And over time, we'll see which ones work, which ones don't, and we'll start to consolidate. We'll bring them together. You'll see consolidation in this industry to larger companies handling more business at greater volume, at lesser cost, more effective. And I think it'll go from being part of a plan design to being part of our culture. We'll see the grocery stores with a different emphasis. We'll see employers with, the way people need to walk from one area to the other, from the parking lot to the building, or the recognition of gym memberships. And it's going to go beyond the employer and employee to the family members. I think that's what Mr. O'Brien was talking about, how they do the whole family. And we're seeing more and more companies move to wellness programs that affect the whole family.
Yep.
And in that case, the rewards and incentives are still 50% of the entire family premium. So if you get a family member involved, now you've got even more potential for larger dollars because you're allowing for rewards and incentives on a much larger premium basis.
I mean, it's a pretty exciting time. You and I talking about a lot. There's a lot of innovation across the space right now. The ACA, whether you're a proponent or opponent, is real. It's reality, and we need to deal with it. And I think dealing with it is causing a lot of innovation to take place across, whether it's the private exchange marketplace, whether it's the evolution of telehealth, whether here we're talking about interactive health management and wellness incentives, transparency solutions, et cetera.
Oh, there's so much going on. It really is exciting. And, as you and I talked the last couple of years when there was so much uncertainty about what the Supreme Court would do or what elections would do and change this, I think the message that the Institute has sent out is this whole area is a mega trend. It's not going to go away under one approach or another. It's the way things should be going. And there was a lot of innovation developing and starting. And the Institute has this 5-generational model that kind of outlines where we've been, where we are, and where we're going in a very clear way. But I do think you're right. I think under healthcare reform, people are saying, okay, the market's going to be in turmoil. Everybody's just like throwing the cards up in the air. Now I can go and I can gather some market share. I can gather some clients. I can get some new business. And now's as good a time to do it as any. So if those who were starting to do some development, they've really pushed it ahead, said, let's get it now. Let's get it by 2013, 2014, get a market share. So, yeah, I think in a strange way, healthcare reform has actually spurred on some new innovation and new companies to compete with each other. I think we've got a guest coming back on. Here we go.
Hey, Henry, welcome to our program. Sorry you're having some trouble getting on our program today. And to our audience, we've got Henry Albrecht with Limeade on the line with us right now.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, listen, we've got a short segment here because we had trouble getting you online, and I apologize, and we'll have you back on. But why don't you tell our audience a little bit about Limeade and what your footprint in this space, please?
Oh, no problem at all. I'll speak quickly. Limeade is health and well-being company founded in 2006, and focuses creating happy, healthy, high-performance workforces. Can you hear me okay?
We can, Henry.
Great. And so we work with large employers across the country, as well as health plans and other health and wellness companies to engage a population and incentivize them and reward them for making decisions that make companies better.
What's your unique value proposition to the market? I mean, there's a lot of different players in this space, and I think there's a lot of innovation taking space. What's Limeade's unique value proposition?
I think traditional wellness has been focused on kind of singling out people and focusing on the really high-cost people. Limeade takes a different approach. We really focus on engaging the whole population and rewarding people in ways that they find not just financially rewarding but fun and engaging. And probably more than anything else, we really make it the program of that customer. In over 100 ways, we tailor each program to reflect the unique values and workforce and demographics and culture and leadership of a company. And when it feels like it has the same DNA of the leadership and the culture of the company, it tends to be accepted and embraced a lot more than if it's a cookie-cutter approach just kind of put down on them from above.
Henry, this is Ron Bachman. I love the name of your company. It's something you can remember. I think of more as a soft drink or something, though. Where'd that come from? Tell the audience maybe what the background is there and how it fits into your the perception you want to leave in the marketplace.
Well, thanks a lot, Ron. Yeah, when we got into the health and wellness world, we noticed that there are a lot of companies with health and well and doc and kind of what I would consider kind of health insurance and health industry terms. Mm-hmm. And we were thinking about it more from a human being or a customer point of view. What are the attributes that they want to see in a product that is about engagement? And so words came to mind, like they want it to be real and fresh and positive and refreshing. And so all those words led us in the direction of something a little more irreverent and fun and spicy, like Limeade.
Well, it's something that people can easily remember. You know, nobody ever heard of like Google before, but
That's
all of a sudden that sticks in your mind. So.
Yeah, that's right. You can love us or hate us, but at least you'll remember us.
There
right?
you go. There you go. Now, tell us about the incentive approach that you bring into the wellness environment when you're working with entire populations, not just individuals. How do you deal with rewards and incentives?
Yeah, well, we're really excited with the healthcare reform, the ability to have more financial incentives, and those are always an important part. It's important to really have a CEO or the leadership of a company be really clear about the fact that they're offering a benefit to people that cost $5,000 or $10,000 a year, and in return they want people to do a few steps for prevention, for healthcare to earn it. But even more important to that is the cultural and social and kind of team-based rewards that you get when you see yourself on a leaderboard or when you see other people in the office changing their behaviors because of things that you've inspired them to do. So we kind of look for the intersection between intrinsic and cultural rewards and financial rewards for doing what the company wants you to do.
Well, I certainly think that's the way we have to go ultimately. Financial rewards kind of work their way out after a while. I'm not sure we're totally at that point yet, but it has to be something ultimately intrinsic that you take on yourself, is of real value, that you're going to do it not just because somebody's paying you, but because you know it's the right thing to do. So I commend you on
that's right.
on that.
Actually, psychology tells us that it's great to use financial rewards to help people do compliance tasks and one-time things, and kind of use that instant reward for instant action type of mentality, but lasting change. And whether that's change towards your work life, your health, or anything in life, that's a much more difficult process, and it takes training, it takes some education, it takes goal setting, it takes reminding, it takes a whole bunch of tips and tricks that we build into the program.
Henry, listen, it's nice to talk to you again, and this is a short segment, and we'll have you on again. I want to give you 30 seconds to wrap up and tell our audience how they get in touch with you.
That's great, yes. Again, thank you guys for your time. It's Henry Albrecht from Limeade. You can reach us at limeade.com or info@limeade.com. And again, our focus is just building happy, healthy, high-performance workforces and extending engagement in ways that really matter to that particular culture of your company. So thanks again.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks for joining.